Us. So, Phil, if you don't mind
Yeah,
introducing yourself and jumping in, we will end at quarter to the top of the hour.
sounds good. Can everyone see my screen?
Looks great.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I'm Phil. I'm the founder and CEO at DevSquad. DevSquad is a development firm. We have been in business for over 10 years. We have launched more than 200 products. And what we do with a lot of those products that we launch, we do what we call the Sprint Zero, which is the process that we run the customers to make sure we have the right strategy in place and they're going to do the right thing. And so this is Sprint Zero. It's a lot of things that we took from other places that we learn from, and it's the process that we do that help our customers increase their odds of success. And that's kind of like what I'm going to walk you guys through today. What's the process? And hopefully by the end, you have everything that you need to actually just run this process by yourself without our help. Of course, if you need our help, we're always there. But my goal here is to really walk you two guys to the process and how that works and how that can be run. So, um, well, let's keep a slide. So why we do the Sprint Zero? The reality that building software, and there's no guarantees, and it's about making bets. You're betting that you're solving a problem that's valuable. You're betting that people are going to want your software, and the job of the Sprint Zero is to put the odds in your favor. It's the work that you do before you start to actually build to increase the chance that you're going to have a payout. And so if you're going to spend 3 months, that's your bet, 6 months. So the idea here is to first just let's bet 2 weeks on this, 4 weeks on testing this idea further before we go and we make a big bet before we put our chips in the table. So we're going to always be making decision with incomplete information as founders, as people launching products. That's never going to be like, hey, this is going to be for sure. But hopefully this information that we're going to get at the end of the sprint zero is going to really help you make better decisions. So that's sprint zero, and we call it sprint zero because as developers, we count from zero. It's zero, one, two. We don't count from one, and that's all we call that. It's sprint zero. In the process, it is basically seven steps. We believe it's important to have the right mindset, to have a business plan, to think about your pillar feature, to sketch the user flows in the pillar feature, to prototype, to test that, and then to decide if that's a bet that you were willing to bet more on, or if you have to go back to step three and go over those points again to kind of like put the odds in your favor. And I'm going to be walking you guys through each one of those. And I think the mindset's the most important one. And because if you don't have the right mindset, if you don't have the right belief systems, it's going to be very hard to put the odds in your favor. And I'm going to walk you guys through a few of those mindsets that I believe is important. First, writing code is the easy part. It was easy before, is getting easier and easier and easier. And sometimes people have to build a product and people get too worried about like the actually building part. That's the easy part. The hardest part is to figure out what to build, for whom to build, what's the problem that we're going to solve. And I believe now that it's so many times people just build and build and build because it's easy to jump into building without validation. You feel good about it, but you get nowhere. And it's even easier now to just jump instead into building. So it's very important to have that mindset. Coding is the right part. The second one, it's great products. It start with great industry expertise. And a lot of the successful products that we see out there was built by an industry expert. Of course, you can build a product if you're not an industry expert, but our goal here is to put the odds in your favor. And if you're going to put the odds in your favor, it's very important to have the founder product fit. Do I understand this problem that I'm trying to solve very well? I am basically have felt that pain myself. And I think that will really put the odds in your favor. And if you don't have the industry expertise before you want to build a product, you have to bring that in. You have to go figure out who is going to be the industry expert that's going to join your team to solve the problem. Pain is full is few, so you definitely want to solve a problem that you hate it. That's something that you really uh, want to see a solution for. It's something that has been bothering you for a long time. So you have to think about what's the pain that I'm trying to solve. And the next mindset, and that's where I see a lot of people really put the odds against them, is because they have a big pain. but sometimes the big pain is a B2C offer, is an offer for consumers. And yes, there are successful B2C companies out there, but the odds are really against you because the price point is going to be lower. You need a huge user base. You need to raise a bunch of money. When you think about the big B2C companies, think Uber, Airbnb, they lost money for 10 plus years. They raised 100 million plus dollars. So if you really want to put odds in your favor and don't have access to that much capital, or even if you do, but I really think the B2B is the place to start and to build a successful product. It's higher price point, it's easier to market, it's easier to get in, and it's really going to put odds in your favor. Uh, it's important to know that you have a vision, and that vision is huge. But when you start a product, you have to build that one thing that matters, not the full product, not your full vision. Like Amazon start with just books, Airbnb start with air mattress, Instagram start with just a photo filter. So you have to figure out what is that one thing that matters that we're going to build. It doesn't. It's not about building your full vision off the gate. Uh, and one important thing is that that vision cannot be built by a team that can be fed by two pizzas. It's too big. So your version one has to be built by a team of 2 to 6 developers, depends on how much pizza the developers eat. If you put me in the team, probably just one more person. I eat a lot of pizza. So the idea it is like you don't want a huge team to build the view one of your product. Big teams are clunky, they're hard to manage. So that's should be the mindset. What can I build that's not going to require an arm? You need validation, but you don't want to do too much validation. You don't want to do too little validation. And hopefully that what I'm going to show you guys here today and the process that we use to validate in this Sprint Zero, it's going to be the example of what is a just right methodology of validation. So you can confirm the problem is real. You can confirm people are going to pay for the solution. You can find that pillar feature that's going to like get you out the door. That you don't have you have to be careful to not get stuck into validation loop or to do zero validation and just go and put all your chips on the table and bet blind. Like if you're playing poker, you don't even look at your cards. You just go out and that's not very smart. you know. So another thing to keep in mind, the talent beats unlimited resources. Sometimes when you're going to build things, people get worried. Like there's big companies playing this game. How are we going to beat them? And we have worked for big companies, a lot of big companies. And there's a reason big companies usually like to buy. They don't go and they don't build stuff because the 0 to 1 phase is a lot more about having an underdog that's has all these skills that it's has the industry knowledge, it has the talent to take that to market. It's more important than unlimited resources. Again, when we work with ADP, we launch multiple products. They have millions and millions of dollars available to us, and not a lot of those products did super well. And they would go and buy products, and then we just like improve those products. There's a reason the big companies do that. A proof of that is Skype was actually only built by 6 people and got sold to Microsoft to 8.4 billion, and then they ruin it with a huge team. So talent beats unlimited resources. That's an important mindset. So that's it for the mindset part that I believe is important to put the odds in your favor. Once you have the right mindset, then you have to move and to actually have a business plan. And the business plan that I believe it works well for our startups, it is the lean canvas. I don't have time to go through this whole thing to the whole lean canvas here today, but it's an important tool that allows you to understand who are our customers, what's our problem, what's the solution, how are we going to go to market, what's our cost structure, where's our revenue coming from. And this exercise that I recommend that everyone do before you go further with your idea. And to do this exercise, you have two options. The first option, there's a great book. You can just read the book, Running Lean by Ash is an amazing book, and you're going to learn how to fill all those boxes and how to get the business plan done. We also have a 1 day workshop, full day workshop that we run the Dev Squad in our office team where you can come spend the day with us, and you're going to walk you through, and you're going to leave with this thing I'll fill out. But those are the two options to get that done. And once you do that, you move into kind of like the solution portion here. You're trying to think what's the solution, and you're trying to find what's the pillar feature. What's the first thing that I'm going to build? So the pillar feature is the one thing that your product needs to make it worth paying for. what can you build that's going to solve a pain that people going to pay for, and then you're going to build around that pillar feature. That's why it's called the pillar feature. Like, so it's just solve a pain so much that people will pay for this, and then you're going to keep building and building. So YouTube, their pillar feature was just you could upload the video. There was no comments, there was no sharing, there's no playlist. Dropbox too was just a place where you could store your files. There was no sharing. GoPro was a very low resolution, pretty bad camera actually, but was waterproof. And like the initial users were surfers. Like the founder was someone that understood the pain. He was an industry expert because he was a surfer, and he know there was no camera that was good enough for surfing and recording, and so the camera was waterproof. So you have to find the pillar feature for your idea, the thing that people are gonna pay for, and what we like to do to find that is to start by sketching. Again, it's just so easy to go and to even start telling AI to build front end screens. But I believe there's a huge value in just sketching and using paper and pencil and using a whiteboard or at least using iPad, but with the iPad Paint, and then like start thinking about your ideas and what that pillar feature would look like and the things that I believe is important to sketch is your user flow. How does the user going to flow through your app from the beginning to the end? What's their journey to solve that one thing that they're going to pay for? The product map, like what are all these screens? But the most important is to really go deep on that pillar feature, that one thing people gonna pay for. Those are the things that you should include in your sketch. Once you have the sketch and you really went deep into your idea, then you can move to the prototype. But you thought about it. It's easier to erase and to think and to discuss the stuff when you're just doing a whiteboard or in paper. Then you turn that into a prototype. Prototype then is something the users can click, they can use it. It looks kind of like it looks real. They can think it's real for just a few minutes. You can use this designers for polish, but you don't need it. AI can help you. You build the prototype very quickly. You can use tools like Lovable, Bolt, Figma, Make, Cloud, ChatGPT, you name it. One tip here: tell the AI that you're just building a front end. Like tell the AI that you're going to mock data because you are trying to build the prototype. AI is not very good at building backend anyways, but you will try to. So that's one tip to make it easy for you to build your prototype. Oh, sorry, I don't know why this keeps this skipping screen. So what is a good prototype? So it has to be clickable. It should have real content, no lore inputs. Like when I'm looking at this, it looks like the real thing. It should be clean and consistent, and it should have your pillar feature that you already sketch all flesh out. Like I should be able to go through the whole pillar feature and see how that would work. It has to be real enough for me to validate. You don't need to cover edge cases. You don't need admin panels. You don't need everything in roadmap. You don't need layouts to be responsive. Probably gonna have someone test this over Zoom or the computer. And you don't need a professional designer either, but a professional designer can, of course, fill in the gaps the AI can't and can make the product feel more polished. Depending for which market you validate, that might be important, but for most people, that's just optional at this stage. So now we have a prototype, we have a pillar feature, we have a business plan. We have to go validate with our ICPs, with our ideal client profile, if the pain is real and if the solution resonates. And that's a two-part thing. First, you have to validate does the pain exist? And second, is my solution correct? And those are two separate things they have to do here. To validate the pain, I strongly recommend people to read the Mom Test book. It's about how to talk with customers and learn if your idea is good or not. And then after that, that's part one. You go into part two where you show the prototype and you walk the user through. So these are the processes that you're going to do. First, you validate the pain. You're not showing the product yet. You say, hey, tell me about the problem last time that you deal with this problem. What happened? Uh, Understand how you're solving that problem today. For example, like my product dev stats. Tell me about the last time your team got stuck, product delivers got late, and you didn't know what happened. And how did you deal with? How do you try to solve that problem? How much money you would be willing to pay to know beforehand if your product's gonna get delay or not, and like where the bottlenecks are in your team. Just an example. So then once you validate the pain, then you go to the other side where you show the prototype for them. So here's a prototype that I built, navigate it to. So by show the prototype, I don't mean like start clicking to and show here, I build a solution and looks like this, and this. It's like, hey, here's a prototype. Click it through yourself. Tell me what you're seeing. Uh, like explain to me what you're seeing, what's your struggle, what you like, what you don't like. Is that solving that problem that we just discussed that you have? And then figure out like if I actually had this working, fully working, would you be willing to pay? Now, everything in this, I feel like founders can do by themselves, but this interview part is the portion that I believe it's really valuable to have somebody impartial do, because people are gonna lie to you if it's your idea, like they're gonna like want to help you feel good. So like sometimes having a training partial professional conduct those interviews and come back and give a result for you of what they learn with about the pain and about the solution is going to be the best thing. You can still do that yourself. Again, just read this book, really understand what's in this book, so you can like run the interviews and be the most impartial. So this is what you're looking to do at the end of the interview. Is the pain real? Is the pain expensive? It's very important to be the pain to be expensive, so people are gonna pay for. Uh, as they're navigating the prototype, they are saying things like, "Would this would help?" Are they willing to pay? Red flags when people are just complimenting, like, "Hey, this is cool," but they're not getting deep into that. Or they can describe their problem from their own experience. And if that happens, I would not even show them the solution. If you don't validate the pain, don't try to validate the solution. The pain doesn't exist. There's no reason to show the solution. So that's something that that's very important to do when you're running this process. And then once you did all that, now you have all the information that you need to decide if that's a bet that you want to make or not. It's important for us not to fall in love with the solution, but to fall in love with the pain that we are trying to solve. And then we're gonna go into decide, is that some I want to bet now another 3 months, another 6 months, or how much it is that's going to take to actually build this on this idea, or I want to go back, iterate, and then maybe have another pillar feature or have something else, have another solution. Hopefully the pain was validated enough because I am an industry expert and I really know the pain, but my solution maybe is not the correct. Or if even if my pain wasn't validated, I have to go back even further. Or no, you just understood the problem. They want the solution. They told you they're gonna pay for it. There's no guarantees at this point. But again, you're stacking the odds in your favor. So then you can green light and move with the pillar feature. And like remember what you're trying to do is find product market fit with that idea. And that idea that you're trying to validate, you're trying to get to meaningful usage, significant top line growth, and flat user retention. And the reality is your view one is not going to have all those three. But if you went to the sprint zero process, you're going to have a much better chance. You're going to be a lot closer. And then you're just going to keep iterating. That's the process of building software. Software's never done, you know. So, but launch is better than perfect. Done for the view one is better than perfect. Your software, they're never going to be done, but they can be launched. They could be profitable. They could be growing. So yeah, that's the sprint zero process that we run with our customers, that we have run with many companies that we have improved along the years to help our customers put their odds in their favor. That's it.
Awesome. Phil, thank you so much. Super interesting and a lot of information there. I would request from everybody here that you throw your questions for Phil in the chat right now. There are a few in there right now, but please throw those in there so that we can make sure we get to all of your questions. First question for you, Phil. I love Carmen Scott's question of when should a team not run sprint zero?
Why should the team not run sprint zero? Um, I think a team should always run sprint zero.
That's
and
what
and
I
it's
thought you would say.
and a sprint zero sometimes it can be run for new features too, for new even in a product that's real, like now you're gonna do and do a big effort in different direction. You can go through this process to make sure that before you make the bet, you are getting the right direction. Of course, you're not always going to be doing this whole process. The product is launched, you're getting a lot of feedback from customers, and you kind of like know the directions to push. But when you're starting, Sprint Zero is very important uh, to go through this process. You know, sometimes companies are just like, It's straight up copying somebody that they know there's a market for, and they just go and do that straight. But still, what's your differentiator? How are you gonna make your solution better? I think Sprint Zero, it's a process that people should do, and then people do it in different ways too. Like this is our Sprint Zero, right? We use the lean canvas, we sketch, we prototype. But if you the book Sprint by Google Ventures it's how Google runs their Sprint Zero with their Google Ventures ideas. There's different ways to go about that. This is how we go about it, which I believe is very lightweight, but it's enough to put the odds in your favor.
I like that. Carmen, if you want to come off mute, and it looks like Chad also commented that maybe when you're launching a competitive product, maybe you don't go through this. But Carmen, did you have an example or a question specifically in mind when you asked when you shouldn't do this? And I don't know, maybe you can't come off mute, but
Yeah, so this is Chad. I think Phil covered the aspect that I said. If you're doing something where there's already a product, but you have an improvement, the I think what you said, Phil, was your sprint is on the improvement, not necessarily, founding the pillar, but having it be the improvement of the pillar.
Yes. But
yeah,
even like let's say if you're going against a big product that has 30 features, you're still gonna try to find what's the main feature that you're gonna build first, that people are gonna pay for, and that you're gonna add, and they're gonna make a little bit better than what they have, right?
Right. And in most cases, wouldn't you say that would be the thing that you don't like about the product you're using that you want to make better?
Yes.
yeah, that makes sense. I appreciate that. That's good. The next two questions are maybe somewhat similar. We could probably combine them. But Bob asks, what is your process for your services? What are the services to a company, I think, that you provide? And then Jeff Holman said, what are some pains that you've seen customers build that are surprising success? As a service provider myself, I see people launch niche applications, and I think to myself, there's sufficient pain to justify an app for that, really. I don't know if it's a matter of perspective or something else. So maybe if you could talk a little bit about how you run your operations, Phil, and then also address Jeff's question.
Okay, so our operation usually when a customer comes to us, we do a workshop to kind of try to understand what they're trying to do to scope how long this sprint zero needs to be and what tools we're going to be using this sprint zero. Uh, Many times people come to us and they already have a business plan or they already have a sketch. So we can kind of see where they are and where the gaps are. And then we're going to plan, hey, this is going to be 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks of effort for us to validate your idea and to get you ready for development if we decide to build or to have the no, this is no, and we're going to iterate on it. So that's step one. And you just say, hey, this is going to be a 4 or 6 or it's very flexible there. As far as niche products, for sure, like one that come to my mind, this guy was a sport photographer. So like he take pictures of sports for events for high schools and colleges and whatever. And he was like, I'm gonna build a product just for other business like mine, just for stock photographers to run their business. And he's like, first, do photographers make money? Do photographers pay for software? Then I learned that sport photographers are all making 7 figures a year, right? So taking pictures of event, those companies. And then he launched this product, super, super niche, that he understood the problem better than anybody else. Uh, and the product does super well. There was another lady, she ran a driving school, and she was like, hey, all the driving school softwares out there, they're built by developers, but none of them are built by anybody that actually ever run a driving school before. And so she built her software with her knowledge, and her software did super well. So that's why that mindset's so important. It's like the industry expert makes the whole difference because people see problems they don't know are real. You know.
Yeah, thanks. And Jeff and Bob, if you have follow-up questions, you can throw them in the chat or come off mute. Joel asks, what is the best way to find your ICPs? Is it friends, family, etc.? What are the approaches you suggest, Phil?
Well, that's where the industry expertise is very important, right? So if you understand the problem in the industry you're trying to solve, you're gonna know how to find your ICP, and it's again, it's usually not your friends, your family. It's like you have been in the industry for so many years. Like to stick with the example from the photographer, he knew other sport photographers, or the person running the driving school knew other driving schools, and so that's how you would know it's different for each stage. But if you don't know who your ICP is, maybe that's not the right idea for you to build because you're not the English expert.
Yeah. Um, Rolf, do you want to come off mute and ask your question?
Sure. Hey, great presentation, Phil. Like it, very organized and succinct. Uh, Real quick, uh, it still seems like even 4 to 6 weeks is a long time to invest in something before you really even validate if the problem is worth solving. It seems like that's something you could go and like the mom test, right? That can be done in the first couple days of the sprint, possibly.
Yeah, like again, it's gonna keep going back to the mindset and the industry expertise. You already have some of those conversations. You already have hopefully some validation of the pain before we start this whole process. But you would go deeper into that in the process. And here is like really, and that's why sometimes it could be 2 weeks. Like we do the business plan. You think about the pillar
Mhm.
feature, but you can be having those conversations before you have a prototype, and you can be validating the pain because again, the pain is the most important thing to validate. The solution is
Right.
what you're going to test later, and it goes back to if you understand the pain well, right? If you are the industry expert, you probably the pain is already validated before we go
Okay.
deeper into validate the solution, and so that's for sure the pain. You should have a good idea that the pain exists before going to the whole process. But we hope that at the end of the process, you can have a deeper understanding of the pain from other points of views, not only yours.
Yeah.
But
So you're saying the person designing the product is in this case the expert user as well.
mhm. Or at
Uh,
least somebody in their team it is. So, for example, when we work with
okay.
ADP,
Okay. Sure.
ADP would bring an industry expert that would be part of that team, and that would like be their person that kind of like their in-house console, whatever. Like, hey, this is you
Yeah.
understand. I have lived to that problem.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, so Bob's question, does your company actually develop the app for the software as a service or the SaaS?
Exactly. That's what we do. We just don't want to go into build and we just are trying to get the customers to build a product that's more likely to be successful. That's why we run them through this process first. And then from here, we're going to go and you're going to help them build their version one, which could be a web application, could be a mobile application. We just like we have learned that if we do this work up front, they increase their chance of success, then increase their chance of keeping development going for a long time with us or with their in-house team. But yeah, but that's kind of like what we do. We have more than 100 people in our team, like close to 80 developers. Yeah, that's basically what we do. It's the core of our business. We just don't want to be building without putting the odds in our favor. That's what we do. We start here.
Perfect. I like that. Phil, on the mindset side of the presentation, are there any suggestions you have or that you use to quantify some of those mindset elements that you discussed?
Um, I think it's just like it's very informal, trying to understand if the person has the right mindset, if they are, how they think about those things, and sometimes even trying to do some education. For example, one that we talk a lot is B2C versus B2B. There was a company I work with. They were in the finance space and they want to help people get better finances. And you're like, hey, that's great. But how about we sell for business and then the business give it to their employees as a benefit because we don't want to play in the B2C game unless you have a lot of money. How much money do you have? Or like how much connections do you have? So we do that conversations with people when we see kind of like the mindset disalign, or like again, it's just about making a bet. Maybe the person does want to bet in B2C. They don't, it's okay. The other are more against them and they just want to do that. But it's our process is just to talk with people about this individual mindset points and see where they stand in that point.
So another question from Rolf: what is your success rate after Sprint Zero? Like you've obviously created Sprint Zero because you saw people failing. When you do this process, how have you seen the success? Like, what is the rate between those who don't and those who do this success wise?
Yeah, it's interesting too because you have to think about what's the definition of success, right? So, like the business is still alive, or they were able to actually keep going and go and raise more money. But I would say it's probably around 50 to 60% of the companies that we build the Sprint Zero go into actually build a stable company after this, which still could be pretty bad, but like 50% is better than like if without like the success rate for SaaS companies is probably like way less. And a lot of
What
our customers went to like make more than $10 million in revenue.
So if they've gone through this process and
Hmm.
not successful, what do you attribute that to? What do you
Uh,
see that makes those companies not successful?
Sometimes they have a hard time getting good customers. So like even though they went through the process, so when they were working on their business plan here, and they were talking about customer segments or and channels, their channels didn't work as well as they thought would work. So like user getting customers is definitely something that get people stuck. Other times companies run out of money because they plan to lose money for 5 years, which means they're gonna have to keep raising. So the product is used. People like we have customers that people love their product, but they were not making money and they couldn't go to the next round. So like I think there's gonna be a switch in the market now where companies are like, instead of going so much to the next round, they're thinking about how can I get to the fall alive as quick as possible? How can I get this to profitable as quick as possible? But until a few years ago, that wasn't the goal, right? It was like, okay, let's go to the next round, the next round. So, but yeah, it's usually around the getting customers to market uh, or running out of money before you get to profitability. Those are the two things, you know.
Yeah, that sounds like an opportunity for a Sprint One coming out of zero, right? Um, Phil, this has been awesome. Thank you very much. If you've got your contact information, if you could throw that up or put your LinkedIn or however you would like people to connect with you in the chat, that would be great. And then have you already shared are you able to share the presentation you went through with Hannah so we could get
Yes.
that shared?
Yes, I'll share with her. I send my link then there in the group. If anyone want to talk further, you can just add me on LinkedIn.
Perfect.
That's me on LinkedIn. So we can go from there.
Awesome. Well, thank you everybody for coming today. We'll be back here next Tuesday. Really appreciate you, Phil, and the presentation. Thank you so much, and look forward to seeing everybody next week.
Okay,
Thanks,
thank you
Phil.
guys.
Thanks, Phil.
Thank you.